The Russia story is a total fabrication.
This Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.
The entire thing has been a witch hunt.
13 Russians indicted by special counsel Robert Mueller for meddling in the 2016 presidential election.
The Russians also recruited and paid real Americans.
The goal here was simple: damage Hillary Clinton and elect Donald Trump.
We truly regret any additional pain that this has caused. The FBI has determined that protocol was not followed.
In this situation, the system clearly failed us.
What a job you've done, and the doctors did a great job over the hub.
I sent her to school yesterday. She was supposed to be safe.
I don't really care what people who defend the Second Amendment have to say. Their arguments are invalid unless they've experienced this.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Renee Marsh, in for Christy Paul.
I'm Victor Blackwell. We're live in Washington this morning, where we're following major developments on our top two stories. Up first, President Trump, spent more than a year calling it a hoax and a witch hunt and a total scam. But now, special counsel Robert Mueller has indicted 13 Russians for interfering in the 2016 election. Now, in documents, the Department of Justice claims the Russian effort involved unwitting Americans, including Trump campaign officials. And despite any concrete proof, the president says these charges have vindicated him in the Russia investigation.
Our other top story, a stunning admission from the FBI. The Bureau says it failed to act on a tip about the Florida school shooter. Now some are asking, could that tip have prevented the massacre that killed 17 students and teachers?
All right, more on the latest in the Florida investigation in a moment, but we're going to start with CNN's Jeff Zeleny and new details on how Russians allegedly worked to influence the 2016 election. Jeff?
President Trump spending the weekend at his presidential retreat in Mar-a-Lago, Florida. Now, of course, in the wake of the indictments back in Washington, certainly hanging over the Trump administration once again. For more than a year, the president has been saying the Russia meddling investigation is a hoax, a witch hunt. That was proven to be not true, at least in the view of the Department of Justice, handing down 13 indictments in the most sweeping case yet of Russian meddling in the 2016 election. Now, of course, the president has said that simply nothing happened. He has recounted the fact when he talked to Vladimir Putin last November in Vietnam during the APEC summit that he believed Vladimir Putin's denials of any Russian meddling. But the Department of Justice today said that was simply not the case. They went song and verse in a 37-page sweeping indictment about how the St. Petersburg internet factory simply meddled in the election, in this U.S. election here. The president, though, had this to say on Twitter in response. He said this: Russia started their anti-U.S. campaign in 2014, long before I announced that I would run for president. The results of the election were not impacted. The Trump campaign did nothing wrong, no collusion. So certainly President Trump seizing on the fact that he said that there was no suggestion there was collusion. He did not talk about the fact that Russia indeed meddled in the election, at least in the view of the Justice Department, which of course follows in the line of all of the thinking of the top U.S. intelligence chiefs here in the United States. So as this goes forward, of course, this is the beginning, not the end of the findings of the Mueller investigation. Steve Bannon, the former chief strategist at the White House, spent more than 20 hours this week alone before Bob Mueller's team. What was he asked? What did he tell? That, of course, will come in the days and weeks and months to come, perhaps. But the president, for now, spending the weekend here at his retreat in Florida, perhaps playing some golf, but clearly the Russia investigation still weighing on the Trump presidency. Jeff Zeleny, CNN, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Well, for more on how Russia is reacting to this latest news, we're going to go to CNN senior international correspondent Matthew Chance, who's live for us this morning in Moscow. Matthew, what sort of reaction are you hearing from the Kremlin this morning?
Well, Renee, as soon as any suggestion is made to Kremlin officials about these allegations of meddling in the US election, the traditional response has been one of denial. And it's been no different this time. As soon as these 13 indictments were put out there by the US Justice Department, there were more denials coming from the Kremlin. The most recent one from the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov. He said this: if there was any fire there, the smoke would be be immediately visible. We could not and did not interfere. They are still talking about some state interference in the pre-election process, but I have not seen a single fact. He said that speaking at the Munich Security Conference just a few hours ago. And there have been similar rejections as well from other Russian officials. Basically, we're seeing the Russians retreat back to their traditional position of denial, even confronted with these latest indictments by the US Justice Department. Renee.
All right, and Matthew, there was one Russian who was actually named in the indictment. Tell us a little bit more about him, as well as this Internet Research Agency also named in the indictment.
Well, there were actually 13 Russians in that indictment, but you're right, there was one man there, a billionaire oligarch from Russia, known to be very close to Vladimir Putin, who was basically said to be the person who bankrolled this whole Internet Research Agency, the notorious Kremlin troll farm, which originally had its offices in St. Petersburg, the Russian city there in the north of European Russia. This is an agency which, according to the indictment, had a strategic goal to sow discord in the US political system. For instance, they organised anti-Muslim rallies in various cities. One particular rally took place in May 2016 in Houston, Texas. They intervened in blogs and chat rooms, trying to sort of turn opinion against Hillary Clinton and towards Donald Trump. Basically, it's this troll factory which set out basically to really try and distort the political process in the United States and, of course, to sow discord. Yevgeny Prigozhin is the man who was indicted for bankrolling that organization. He's a deeply controversial figure in this country. He owns a network of businesses, he's a billionaire. Again, he's known locally as Putin's chef because one of his businesses has the catering contract for the Kremlin.
All right, Matthew Chance, live for us this morning in Moscow. Thank you.
All right, let's bring in now Abby Phillips, CNN White House correspondent, Sarah Westwood, White House correspondent for the Washington Examiner, Michael Moore, former U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Georgia. Good morning to everyone. And Abby, I want to start with you with the list that we have collected from the president over the year. It's a hoax, it's a witch hunt, it's fake, it's totally made up. I'd imagine that high note is a little harder to hit after we're getting this indictment from the Department of Justice.
Definitely, and as he's gone on, it's shifted to no collusion, but you saw from the White House yesterday a shift in tone about this, and also from Republicans more generally. Now they're acknowledging that Russia interfered and that it's a serious problem,
calling
and
it a bad actor.
Calling them a bad actor, and now they're blaming the Obama administration, of course, for not acting sooner. But clearly the White House understands that they can't go on repeating the president's comments that it's a hoax. We saw some hints of this earlier this week when Mike Pence was speaking in an interview, and he talked about it in a way that was far different from the way that the president did. But the White House and the president are also jumping to a certain conclusion here, which is that these particular indictments, these 13 Russians that were indicted, point to the fact that there is no collusion. I think that the indictments actually make no judgment on that at all. In these particular indictments, they say no one was wittingly involved, but we also know that the Mueller investigation is still ongoing. The conclusions haven't been fully reached, and there is a degree to which there are unanswered questions still out there. The White House wants to say this is case closed.
Yeah.
Right, and you speak about the president saying that, look, this clears me, no collusion, and we have that tweet. Let's put that up there for a second there. This was the first reaction that we got from the White House, was this tweet from the president essentially saying all that you see in this indictment shows that we did not collude with the Russians. I want to ask you, Sarah, this very question. We're not long away from the midterm elections. You have the president saying, look, this frees me, but we have not heard him say what he plans to do as far as actions to prevent this sort of thing from happening again as we approach the midterms. How prepared do you think that we are?
I think that because a lot of Democrats have conflated the certainty with which we know Russia interfered in the election with the certainty with which we know that the Trump campaign colluded with Russians. We're not at all certain that that happened. And because of that, President Trump has sort of tried to shy away from talking about Russian interference at all. We know that Russia interfered in the election. We knew that before this indictment. We knew that because of the report that the intelligence community put out under President Obama. And just from a strictly political standpoint, these indictments weren't really a clean development for either narrative, because it did give Republicans, Trump's allies, the ammunition to say there was no collusion named in these indictments, that Russians actually organized against Trump as well as for him. For Democrats, this is more irrefutable proof that Russia did meddle in the election in a really significant way.
Michael, out to you. I want everyone to listen to Christopher Wray, director of the FBI, as the intelligence heads were on Capitol Hill at that Senate hearing this week. And here's what he said about direction from the president on what to do now.
We're taking a lot of specific efforts to blunt Russian
directed by the president?
Not as specifically directed by the president.
No specific directions from the president. I'd imagine that's even more consequential in the context of what we've learned from this indictment.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, Victor. And I'll tell you, when the leader of the country has been so hesitant to actually acknowledge the fact that Russia meddled in the election, despite the intelligence agencies now for many, many months saying that that was a fact, I think that's sort of put us behind the curve a little bit. Let me say this. I think that, you know, for Trump to come out and say that there's clearly no election meddling or no collusion at this point is a little bit like the rooster crowing a little bit too early before dawn. I mean, this is just an indictment. This is an indictment against 13 Russians, and an indictment is just a document that lays out the facts relative and relevant to the accused defendants. So the indictment is not intended to be a blanket pardon of the Trump administration. It's not to be a blanket document that tells everything they found out. In fact, you know, I think it's interesting at this point when we're talking about some of the people charged here. We're not sure. You know, Trump wants to say, look, I hadn't even announced that I was going to run for president back in 2014. Well, that's what makes the financial documents and the tax returns and the business transactions so important that we haven't seen yet. And we don't know exactly what financial arrangements the Trump team or Trump himself had with Russia. So those things may play into why Russia got involved. They didn't do it just for fun. There was a reason that they got involved. There's a reason that they stayed involved and tried in fact to get Donald Trump elected president. We may see some of that now, the fact that we don't have sanctions in place, despite the fact that Congress passed them.
And to that point, I mean, Abby, last month the president kind of passed up an opportunity to add sanctions to Russia for their Russian meddling. What is your sense? I mean, you cover the White House. What's your sense as far as what is this administration doing to protect our elections from this point on?
Well, I think the president is hesitant, as you just heard from Christopher Wray. The intelligence community is not getting their direction on this from the president. And Mike Pence indicated that when he was also talking about it this week. He said he is helping to lead the whole of government response to the threat of Russian meddling in the midterms. So if this is going to happen, it's going to be because the president's deputy, maybe empowered by him, is leading the response, is helping the Department of Justice work with states in order to prevent this kind of meddling from happening. I think it's been reluctant and perhaps a little bit slow. I mean, we are in 2018 right at this moment, and everybody has been saying in the intelligence community for months and months that this meddling is going to happen. It's already happening, and it needs to be acted on immediately. I also think it's interesting, just based on what Michael was just saying about the financial transactions here. What's interesting about these indictments is that they do kind of suggest that these Russians were trying to get Americans to work with them unwittingly. And if in fact the White House is happy with the indictments because they show no collusion, it really makes you wonder, why did the president go to such great lengths to try to step into the street of this investigation? If the investigation was going in a direction that didn't lead to him, it probably would have been better for him to just let it go.
All right, a lot to unpack in these 37 pages, including the persons known and unknown to the grand jury, which we want to talk about when we have this conversation a little later this morning. Abby, Michael, and Sarah, thank you all.
Great, thank you.
And coming up, a stunning admission from the FBI about a missed opportunity to prevent the Florida school massacre. The latest on that is coming up next.
Also, students from Marjorie Stoneham Douglas High are grappling with how to deal with losing their friends at this school shooting. I sat down with 5 of them to get an idea of how they're coping, where they are, in their own words. That's coming up.
How can you not be scared after something like that happens? People I know, people I pass in the hall every day, just gone.
At Joseph A. Bank's President's Day sale, get up to 70% off almost everything. Entire stock of suits, $199. All clearance up to 80% off. And up to 75% off all sweaters and outerwear. The President's Day sale, only at Joseph A. Bank.
Life goes on, yes, life goes on.
I've always wanted to share a special moment with my mom. I think surprising her with a night ski trip would just be the biggest gift that I can give her.
Let's make that happen.
She's gonna be so excited.
Take me where I want to be. Let me dream, oh, let me dream.
Guess what I just got? Hello, Dad. That's a big phone. Oh, my phone.
You built the flame that warms my heart, but your lying and cheating has torn us apart. And I'm moving on.
I hate to ask, but is there any chance of an upgrade?
Any chance of an upgrade?
Upgrade, pretty please. Look into my eyes.
Could be twins.
Have you thought about being a model?
Don't upgrade your seat, upgrade your airline. Fly Emirates, the best economy class in the world.
This is the story of Green Mountain Coffee Roasters Dark Magic, told in the time it takes to brew your cup. First, we head to Vermont and go to our coffee shop and meet Dave. Hey. Why is Dark Magic so spellbindingly good, he asks? Let me show you. Let's go. So we climb, hike, see a bear. Whoa. Reach the top. Dave says Dark Magic is a bold blend of coffee with rich flavors of Uganda, Sumatra, Colombia, and other parts of South America. Like these mountains, each amazing on their own, but together, magical. All for a smoother tasting cup of coffee. Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, packed with goodness.
Mom's gonna kill us.
Gorilla Super Glues.
Of course.
Gorilla has a fix for every project. Original brush and nozzle and ultra-controlled gel for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, little things can be a big deal. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clear skin is achievable after just 4 months, with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. Otezla may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Tell your doctor if these occur. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Other side effects include upper respiratory tract infection and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla, show more of you.
Move-in day. So exciting.
Who's that?
Oh, those are just not yous. They also wanted this house. But you guys use Realtor.com. With more homes for sale, updating in real time, you found it before they could.
I love your new house smell.
Find your dream home before not you finds it. Realtor.com.
Well, now to the latest developments in the deadly shooting in Parkland, Florida. This morning, 6 patients are still in the hospital recovering from their injuries. The president and first lady visited them last night. A funeral for the 17 people who lost their lives. Well, those have begun. Mourners are saying goodbye to 14-year-old Alyssa Aladeff and 18-year-old Meadow Pollock. That happened on Friday.
Meantime, the gunman Nicholas Cruz is back in court Monday. The public defender says Cruz is willing to plead guilty so the community won't have to relive the nightmare. And we're learning about multiple warning signs and missed opportunities to prevent the massacre, including a tip just weeks ago to the FBI, but the Bureau admits it failed to act. CNN's Brian Todd has the latest.
President Trump is spending the weekend at his Mar-a-Lago estate not far from here after a dramatic couple of days following the horrific school shooting on Wednesday afternoon. The president came to South Florida on Friday and spent time with some victims of the shooting at a hospital in Broward County. He then came here to the Broward County Sheriff's Office to get an extensive briefing from first responders and from the Sheriff's Office on the shooting on Wednesday and the response to it. This comes as we're getting some really disturbing and chilling new information about warning signs, clues that were missed, and some information that was mishandled about the shooter, specifically a crucial tip that was given to the FBI. New and alarming details of missed and mishandled warning signs. The FBI says it was given information on January 5th on a tip line. The caller provided information that Nicholas Cruz was erratic, armed, had a desire to kill people, and showed the potential of conducting a school shooting. This information was never passed on to the Miami field office.
The potential of the FBI to miss something is always there. We do our best. We have sort of protocols to prevent these things. We will be looking into where and how if something with the protocol broke down.
This, in addition to a separate notice given to the FBI regarding disturbing social media posts predicting a massacre, including these, saying, "I want to shoot people with my AR-15. I want to die fighting, killing S-ton of people." Jim Gard, a former teacher of the shooter, tells CNN that faculty received an email in late 2016 prompting them to be on the lookout for Cruz and to let administrators know if he was seen with a backpack. Describe that email and what it said.
And it was very simple, just said if he comes on campus with a backpack, let me know.
CNN affiliate WPLG is reporting on a school document recommending in January 2017 that a threat assessment be conducted to determine if Cruz was a danger to the school. The document issued after he was involved in an assault. CNN cannot confirm the authenticity of the document. It's not clear if the threat assessment was ever done, and the Broward County School Board hasn't commented. Signs at every turn that the 19-year-old shooter was troubled and violent. Police records show 39 calls to the shooter's home over the past 7 years for various reasons, including reports of, quote, mentally ill person, child or elderly abuse, and domestic disturbance. Not all of the calls referred to the shooter.
I don't know how often, but there was definitely police cars in the driveway.
Shelby Spino's home is just 2 doors down. She said they and the other neighbors had many encounters with Cruz over the years. On one occasion, her daughter said she saw Cruz shooting toward a neighbor's yard with a gun.
She just said, "Mom, that redheaded kid's shooting chickens at the people behind us had chickens." And I looked out the window and I saw him with, it was a long gun. I don't know anything about guns, so I just saw it was a long gun.
Cruz lived there with his adoptive mother until she passed away last fall. He was then taken in by the residents of this Pompano Beach home. A neighbor captured this video of what he says was a regular and frightening occurrence. The shooter wearing a Make America Great Again hat, firing a weapon in his backyard. He lived at this home until Wednesday's deadly rampage. Police say he fired more than 100 rounds during his rampage. They've detailed the moves the shooter made. Some of them seem calculated, others haphazard. After being dropped off by an Uber, he entered the school building and began firing into rooms on the first floor before moving to the second and third floors. Police say he finally exited the building and blended in with fleeing students. He then made stops at this nearby Walmart, then this McDonald's. After leaving the area, he was apprehended in nearby Coral Springs. As the investigation moves forward and the Parkland community searches for solace, many here are asking, with so many warning signs, why wasn't he stopped? A question that is now placing serious pressure on the FBI director. Florida Governor Rick Scott, in a scathing statement, said the FBI's failure to take action against the killer was unacceptable, and Governor Scott is calling for the FBI director Christopher Wray to resign. Brian Todd, CNN, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Well, Attorney General Jeff Sessions has ordered a review at the FBI and Justice Department after the Bureau's stunning admission that it failed to act on the tip. I want to bring in senior law enforcement analyst Tom Fuentes. He's also the former assistant director of the FBI. Tom, this tip, which had a whole lot of information, came in January. It seems like people did what they were supposed to do. Did this blunder by the FBI essentially cost these 17 people their lives?
Well, it certainly, Renee, could have contributed to it. There's no question that this is probably one of the most catastrophic failures to occur in the FBI ever that I could ever recall. And I've wanted to be an FBI agent since I was a little kid, 30 years in the Bureau, a couple of years since then, consulting back, and then also for CNN. I've never heard of an issue like this that could have and probably did lead to this level of failure. You know, and there's a lot of occupations and a lot of industries where you can have a single person have a failure that results. Captain of an airline, for instance. We hear pilot error, hundreds of people die. But this is the first time I know of an incident with the FBI and a system it created to prevent this actually breaking down.
So a single person acting here, does this lead to calls for potential redundancies that need to be in this system so that something like this doesn't happen again?
No, exactly, Victor. This system was created about 7 years ago where individual offices with individual employees receiving various calls, which they get thousands a day, you know, to create a system where it was more standardized, where you had trained operators in a call center, which this case is located in West Virginia. So all of these thousands of calls come in almost every day to that center, and then they're trained to know, is this one of the 450 investigative classifications responsible for the FBI? Is this a state and local matter? Where is it? Who would have jurisdiction? And then they're supposed to have the training, knowledge, and system to be able to direct the complaint to the right office, in this case, the Miami office. And it wasn't done. And they're looking at now, is this a single person that took that call that failed? Is it a system of management? Is it a system of the way the system operates? That'll be looked into. And interestingly, this system has gotten high praise from a wide range of inspections that it's gone through and all of that for actually being a much more efficient and effective system than just every one of the 56 domestic offices receiving calls themselves.
And I mean, you hear the governor of Florida, Rick Scott, already calling for the head of the FBI, Christopher Wray, to resign over this. As someone who worked for the agency, do you agree that this is sort of a scenario in which that would be appropriate?
I don't agree at this time that it's time for politicians to be throwing rocks at each other. I mean, we could also say we have a catastrophic failure at the state and local level when the school expels this kid for violence, when fellow students are saying he's bringing guns and ammunition in a backpack, when the faculty is given an email a year ago warning them to notify the front office if he shows up because he could be dangerous. So that's just in the school. Then you have the police responding 39 times to the house. And then you have neighbors that see him out in the yard and video him shooting guns and you know, acting mentally disturbed at that time. So you have failure at a variety of levels, and I don't think it's appropriate yet for a politician who may not have his own house in order to be throwing rocks at the FBI director.
Yeah, plenty of signs for some time with this shooter. Tom Fuentes, we've got another topic we want to discuss with you, so stick around with us for a moment.
And coming up next, the students from that Florida school shooting are grappling with how to cope and gain back some sense of normalcy, why they say change is necessary for them to feel safe again.
Ways to lose stubborn belly fat. The roasted core wrap.
3, 2, 1.
Not cool. Freezing away fat cells with Cool Sculpting, now that's cool. Cool Sculpting safely freezes and removes fat cells with little or no downtime and no surgery. Results and patient experience may vary. Some rare side effects include temporary numbness, discomfort, and swelling. Ask your doctor if Cool Sculpting is right for you and visit CoolSculpting.com today for your chance to win a free treatment.
Need any help, sir? Yeah, I am looking for something soft, but not too soft. Maybe a goat? Maybe a sheep, as long as they won't break a cracker. Is buttery a thing? I like buttery.
Feel a cold coming on? Zicam Cold Remedy Nasal Swabs shorten colds with a snap and reduce symptom severity by 45%. Shorten your cold with a snap with Zicam.
The closer you get to home, the more you know the commute is worth it. You and that John Deere tractor. You can keep dreaming up projects all the way home. It's a longer drive, but just like a John Deere, it's worth it.
Turning in the
can pass down a Subaru Forester, but you get to keep the memories.
Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Get 0% APR financing on all new 2018 Subaru Forester models now through February 28th.
Whether it's new business, new boss, or new romance, these are the designer moments. Now at Men's Warehouse, take 60% off select designer suits, plus it's buy one, get one free on select items. You're gonna like the way you look in a designer suit.
At Farmers, we've seen almost everything, so we know how to cover almost anything, even a red-hot mascot.
Hey, you're on fire! You bet I am. Dude, you're on fire! Oh, yeah! No, you're on fire! Look behind you!
I'm cool. That's one way to fire up the crowd, but we covered it. Talk to farmers. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
You're a rich girl, and you're going too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway.
I'm a soldier in the People's Army.
The Radical Story of Patty Hearst. New episode tomorrow at 9 on CNN.
Don't waste your time and money at the chain store. They got the best auto parts, brake parts, suspension parts, and dealer parts too. The website's so easy to use. The lowest prices and fast delivery too. All the parts your car will ever need. All the savvy folks are buying parts at rockauto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
Beach's Turks and Caicos was created with everyone in mind. That's why everyone thinks it was created just for them. And it was. Generation Everyone.
You're all about a good time. You're all about a good life. You won't believe it.
Believe it. That's why we've been voted world's best 19 years in a row. Beach's Turks and Caicos, the #1 all-inclusive family resort. Call 1-800-BEACHES.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ollie. Delightful nutrition to keep you happy from the inside out.
Well, President Trump and the First Lady visited a hospital in Broward County, Florida last night, where many victims of Wednesday's high school shooting are being treated. They also dropped by the sheriff's office to praise the law enforcement officials who responded to the incident.
CNN correspondent Diane Gallagher is in Deerfield Beach, Florida there. Diane, good morning to you. And how are those victims who are still in the hospitals?
Victor, Renee, the good news is that we've seen improvements and discharges every day since the shooting of those who've been wounded. There are currently 6 patients still in the hospital, 3 of them here at Broward North. One does remain in critical condition, but the president and first lady chose to come to Broward North because this is where the majority of the patients were brought to begin with. This is a trauma center. They acted quickly, and that's something that the president commented on when speaking to the doctors and first responders about just how quickly that response time was. I talked to some of those doctors the day before, and they said about 15 minutes is the heads up that they got. They went into that code green. The president and first lady visited with one of the patients here, Maddie Wilford. She's an 18-year-old. She's a basketball player at Stoneman Douglas. She was shot multiple times, and you can see the pictures that were posted by a social media manager there, Dan Scavino. Lots of pictures with his family smiling. This was good news to a lot of people in this community, seeing Maddie there, at least smiling and seeing her face since the shooting happened. The president and first lady also visited with a male patient while they were here at Broward North. They spent about 20 minutes total at the hospital before going to the sheriff's office and congratulating those first responders on the way that they handled the situation and how quickly they were able to do so. Victor, Renee?
And of course, our thoughts are with those students who remain in the hospital this morning. Diane Gallagher live for us this morning. Thank you.
Now, I spoke with a group of students from Stoneman Douglas High School and listened to their stories about what they saw on Wednesday and how they feel about it now. And they talked about the shock and the anger, numbness. But one thing they feel is fear. Fear that their school is no longer safe. Here's part of our conversation.
It's a slew of emotions. And one of the most daunting things
is that they all kind of neutralize each other to the point where I feel desensitized.
You asked us how we're feeling, but I feel like a better question is what we're not feeling. I catch myself almost being mad at myself for not feeling more. I feel almost numb.
There's been a lot of survivor guilt. There have been a lot of people saying, why wasn't it me?
We can't take life for granted anymore because every single day you just don't know what's going to happen, and we don't feel secure and safe in our own school, like a place we called home.
The only thing that separates us from them is just luck. They're freshmen, they're little girls that didn't come home because of what happened.
I had so many friends in the school that I wasn't in the room with that I wanted to make sure were safe, and it was hard to reach everyone. It was just such a scary feeling of helplessness.
Let me ask about the category now, that this echelon that your school is in, unfortunately. I can say Pulse nightclub, and you all know what I'm talking about. Sandy Hook, Virginia Tech. I can now say Stoneham Douglas. What does that feel like now?
When we were in that closet all together, I was just thinking, we're going to be that school. We're going to be the ones that everyone talks about. We're going to be the school that got shot up.
With this title, now that everyone knows the name of the school, we can use that and use it to make change.
The only way we could do that is by being unapologetic and not by sugarcoating it.
Have you prepared yourself for what it will be like to walk back into that building?
I had a class with one of the girls that passed away, unfortunately. I don't know how I'm going to step foot back in that class.
I'm excited to go back to school. It's going to be hard. I have a class in the building where everything happened, but I want to be with everybody, and everybody's been so strong together, and I want to see everybody. If we didn't have the leadership at our school that we did, there's a very good chance that this could be abysmal, more so than it already is.
How can you not be scared after something like that happens? People I know, people I pass in the hall every day, just gone, and yeah, I'm scared.
The eloquence from these students so soon after this tragedy is remarkable. Now, we talked about gun control. We talked about the issues of mental health, their message for the president, for the governor, for Senator Rubio, and for those who say this is not the time to talk about these issues. You're going to hear more of our conversation with the students there from Stoneman Douglas High School later on in the show.
And so insightful, really good interview. And it's just so clear that even once those students are laid to rest, the problems are just going to continue for these students emotionally as well. And coming up after, in just a moment, after a top aide is forced to resign over domestic abuse allegations, Chief of Staff John Kelly is overhauling security clearance procedures. But will the changes work?
Brushing only reaches 25% of your mouth. Listerine cleans virtually 100%, helping to prevent gum disease and bad breath. Never settle for 25%. Always go for 100. Bring out the bold.
We've been preparing for this day. Over the years, Paul and I have met regularly with our Ameriprise advisor. We plan for everything from retirement to college savings, giving us the ability to add on for an important member of our family. Welcome home, Mom. With the right financial advisor, life can be brilliant.
As long as there is fear, as long as there is curiosity, as long as there are undiscovered corners of the earth, and as long as there is willingness and desire, then you are capable of more. This President's Day, lease a 2018 BMW X3 xDrive 30i for $499 per month.
Gas, bloating, constipation, and diarrhea can start in the colon and may be signs of an imbalance of good bacteria. Only Philips Colon Health has this unique combination of probiotics. It provides 4-in-1 symptom defense. It's your daily probiotic.
Heather is trying to learn French online. I drink goat milk at the library. Janice is succeeding with Babbel. With 14 languages, Babbel gets you conversational fast for real-life situations. You'll be speaking with confidence in no time.
Deux croissants, s'il vous plaît.
D'accord. And for you?
The
octopus wants to date me. Babbel, start your conversations. Download the app or go to babbel.com and try it for free today.
Psoriatic arthritis tries to get in my way? Watch me.
I've tried lots of things for my joint pain. Now, watch me.
Think I'd give up showing these guys how it's done? Please.
Real people with active psoriatic arthritis are changing the way they fight it. They're moving forward with Cosentyx. It's a different kind of targeted biologic. It's proven to help people find less joint pain and clearer skin. Don't use if you are allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting Cosentyx, you should be checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms of an infection, or if you have received a vaccine or plan to. If you have inflammatory bowel disease, tell your doctor if symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
With less joint pain, watch me.
For less joint pain and clearer skin, ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
I no longer live with the uncertainties of Hep C, wondering, what if? I let go of all those feelings because I am cured with Harvoni.
Harvoni is a revolutionary treatment for the most common type of chronic hepatitis C. It's been prescribed to more than 250,000 people and is proven to cure up to 99% of patients who've had no prior treatment, with 12 weeks. Certain patients can be cured with just 8 weeks of Harvoni. Before starting Harvoni, your doctor will test to see if you've ever had hepatitis B, which may flare up and cause serious liver problems during and after Harvoni treatment. Tell your doctor if you've ever had hepatitis B, a liver transplant, other liver or kidney problems, HIV, or any other medical conditions, and about all the medicines you take, including herbal supplements. Taking amiodarone with Harvoni can cause a serious slowing of your heart rate. Common side effects of Harvoni include tiredness, headache, and weakness.
Ready to let go of Hep C?
Ask your Hep C specialist about Harvoni.
Your friend orders a Friday sirloin steak and big ribs. You one up him with the steak, but add a steak. Figuring steak and steak trumps ribs and steak. But does it?
2 meats, 2 sides, $14.99. Get it here or get it to go.
Well, the security clearance process for top officials is now getting an overhaul.
Right. White House Chief of Staff John Kelly is ordering the changes after mishandling allegations of domestic abuse by senior aide Rob Porter. Among the changes outlined in a 5-page memo, background checks should go straight from the FBI to the White House counsel's office, and the FBI should share any derogatory information with the White House within 48 hours of uncovering this. So will this all work? Joining me now, Tom Fuentes, CNN senior law enforcement analyst and former assistant FBI director, and Michael Moore, former U.S. attorney for Middle District of Georgia. I guess the first question goes to you, Tom. I mean, he's making this announcement. I mean, do you get any indication based on these changes and the changes outlined in the memo that this really would have made a difference prior to all of this, prior to the revelations concerning Rob Porter?
Well, the White House was definitely notified on at least 3 occasions by the FBI of the status of their investigation on Porter. So the statements by Wray when he testified were that, you know, in March they issued the first interim report. This would have been after they received derogatory information from the ex-wives. Then in July, what would then be the completed report, but it would just be, you know, more things that might not have been included in the March summary. And then again in November, as new things came up, they added to it. So the idea is controlled actually government-wide by a system of security officials on how these clearances go. The White House controls who they're going to issue the security clearance to based on this government-wide set of rules. The FBI's part of this is just to give them the results of the information, and then they decide whether to issue or not to issue a clearance and how long it takes them to figure it out.
Michael, you'll remember that as this Rob Porter scandal was unfolding, John Kelly said that everything was done right. This is clearly an admission that it indeed was not. I want to read you one portion of this 5-page memo from Kelly, that all background investigations of potential commissioned officers should be flagged for the FBI at the outset and then hand-delivered to the White House counsel personally upon completion. This is the most important part here of this passage. The FBI official who delivers these files should verbally brief the White House counsel on any information in those files they deem to be significantly derogatory. If memory serves me, that's exactly what acting AG Sally Yates did in the case of General Flynn, and the White House still didn't do anything about it.
No, I think that's true, and I think he's just setting out a memo that looks to pass the buck down the road in case they have another snafu like this. You can have all the memos and all the policies and all the regulations that you want to have, but if you don't have a chief of staff or a president or an administration that has this fortitude and the strength to make decisions on those things, then they don't matter. The background process is a long and tedious process. It's uncomfortable for the people who go through it oftentimes. And this information that comes out is something that would have been known relatively early on, as we now know. And so this was a case, I think, of just having people in the administration who were unwilling to act. Maybe they had a fondness for Mr. Porter. Maybe they just didn't want to recognize the fact that they had a problem there. Who knows what the internal machinations and goings-on were. But in this case, I don't know that a memo would have made a difference, because it's pretty clear at this time that they had the information.
So, Tom, to you, I mean, this change could potentially impact Jared Kushner. I mean, he's still operating under this temporary security clearance. I guess my question to you is, does it alarm you at all that his background check still is ongoing, and for whatever reason...
We actually don't know, Renee, if it's ongoing. We don't know if everything was completed and submitted to the White House. Could be months ago. We just don't know.
So what do you make of the
White
fact
House,
that
I make of it is that somebody complete. That... you know, the president and senior officials at the White House vouched for or have a relationship with, they're not in a hurry to receive derogatory information about them. They're not in a hurry to fire them based on what they receive. So, you know, we just don't know. Now, in the case of Jared Kushner being an international businessman, his could be ongoing. There could be additional financial leads coming from banks and other institutions around the world that it does take time to get that kind of information, but
is
we
this
don't
timeline normal of more than a year?
For someone that's an international businessman or has traveled all around the world and would have contacts everywhere, it could be. It could take many months, up to a year, yes.
Michael, out to you. Does this, from your perspective, end the Rob Porter scandal? I mean, the White House knew, John Kelly, Don McGahn knew that they had a man working in the White House who was credibly accused of domestic abuse. Put aside the moral question, the national security challenges. It's, as you said, easy to put out a memo, but there has been no overhaul of accountability.
I used to think, Victor, that, you know, when somebody stood up on behalf of the administration and told an outright untruth, that was probably the end of their time in the White House. I'm not convinced of that anymore after this last year. So it seems to me that there should be some head to roll at least over this. But as I say, I mean, this is a pretty clear case where it seems they knew that Mr. Porter had problems. They just didn't want to act or failed to act. And I think so ultimately somebody is responsible for that. I can tell you, having had an office full of people with security clearances, that if I'd seen this is the kind of thing that would have taken about a day to resolve, and we would have been helping the gentleman pack up his office and look for the exit door. So this wasn't a tough decision based on the allegations in my mind. He wouldn't have qualified to be a postal carrier in Ludowici, Georgia, based on that.
All right, where in Georgia?
Not in Ludowici, Georgia.
Ludowici,
Georgia. It, right. And nothing against my friends in Ludowici, but this is a pretty clear case. You wouldn't want the man who's sitting right outside the president, handing him all the secret documents, having this kind of stuff on his background check.
Well, I've never been to that post office, but as I'm passing through next time, I certainly will stop. Michael Moore, Tom Fuentes, thank you both.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, well, despite it still being very cold at the Winter Olympics, the competition is certainly heating up after a full week. Our Coy Wire is there in the heart of it all. Coy, how are the Americans doing?
Good morning, Renee. Good morning, Victor. Coming up, not one, but two American Olympians, both favored for gold here in Pyeongchang, each with results almost no one saw coming. We'll tell you who, what, and how. Coming up right here on New Day.
We use Angie's List because we can always find great local pros.
For any type of home project.
I use Angie's List because it's free.
Free to read reviews.
Check their ratings.
They can even match my project to qualified pros.
Go to angieslist.com today.
Turning in
grain again. The bells began to chime. Time, she said.
You can pass down a Subaru Forester, but you get to keep the memories.
Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Get 0% APR financing on all new 2018 Subaru Forester models now through February 28th.
ADT now helps protect your family at home and on the go. Introducing new ADT Go, the family mobile safety app and service. Get connective features like family member locator, check-ins, private messaging, safe driver reports, and SOS button with our award-winning 24/7 monitoring that makes ADT the most trusted security company. Get started now with ADT's best offer, an ADT starter kit installed free, including a security panel, keypad, key fob, entry and motion sensors. And for a limited time, get a security camera at no additional cost, a $449 savings. Plus, control your ADT security system and smart home features like locks, lights, and security cameras from the ADT Pulse app. And now, get ADT Go for free with any ADT security system. Don't miss out on ADT's best offer, a $449 savings. ADT, always there, now everywhere.
Say hello to Pretox, a whole new concept in skin defense. New absolutely ageless Pretox Day Mask from Aveeno. Its formula with an antioxidant complex fights pollution and keeps skin looking younger longer. Aveeno.
The closer you get to home, the more you know the commute is worth it. For all the work you pour into this place, you sure get a lot more out of it. You and that John Deere tractor, so versatile, you can keep dreaming up projects all the way home. It's a longer drive, but just like a John Deere, it's worth it. Nothing runs like a Deere. Now you can own a 1E subcompact tractor for just $99 a month. Learn more at your John Deere dealer.
This is an apple. And this is an apple. And this is an apple. And when you put them all together, you've got a case.
Every night in America, people make something for dinner. But some of us make something much more.
Mom would be proud.
With Blue Apron, any night is a chance to see what cooking can do.
It's time for the ultimate Sleep Number event on the only bed that adjusts on both sides to your ideal comfort, your Sleep Number setting. And snoring? Does your bed do that? Right now, during the Ultimate Sleep Number event, save 50% on the Ultimate Limited Edition bed with adjustable comfort on both sides, plus 24-month financing. Ends Monday. Visit sleepnumber.com for a store near you.
American Dynasties, The Kennedys, premieres Sunday, March 11th at 9 on CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
Mesothelioma, it's all we do. With 7 offices across the country, let us come meet with you. Call us at 1-800-213-8000.
Week 1 done, and some of the biggest names in the Olympic Games representing the United States were in action earlier, including Lindsey Vonn and Nathan Chen.
And that's where we find our very own Coy Wire. Coy, you were at the men's figure skating competition where Nathan Chen was very impressive but missed out on a medal. So what happened?
It was a surreal, unreal scene there, Renee. Victor, good morning to you. This was a shining example of a fierce human spirit, getting knocked down but refusing to stay down from 18-year-old Nathan Chen, the only undefeated figure skater in the world coming into this season, but he fell in his first 2 competitions in Pyeongchang. The weight of the world on his shoulders heading into that final portion of the program. And many saying he was crumbling under pressure, but Chen said he wanted redemption, and he got it. He tuned out all the noise. He hit 6 quad jumps. That's a first in Olympic history. 4 rotations each. He captured a catapult from 17th place to finish 5th. Now, I witnessed a surreal scene after Japanese legend Yuzuru Hanyu defended his Olympic figure skating gold. Fans wearing their Winnie the Pooh outfits, crying, young and old, storming to throw stuffed Pooh Bears onto the ice. They're Hanyu's favorite. He bedazzles with his performances. Some call him the Michael Jackson on ice, a figure of inspiration for his fans ever since that devastating tsunami of 2011, and the nation was reeling after that. But 8 mounds of those stuffed Pooh Bears were gathered after his win. Yuzuru, by the way, donates all of those to local charities in the towns in which he performs. We'll have more coming up for you later throughout the morning about what else happened here in Pyeongchang. A lot of exciting stuff, Victor and Renee.
All right, Corey, thank you so much. The next hour of Your New Day starts after a quick break.
Aiming for Gold is brought to you by Gillette Venus and by the all-new Chevy Traverse.
I'm your Venus. She's got it.
The smoother the skin, the more comfortable you are in it. And now there's a new way to smooth. Introducing new Venus Platinum, a premium metal-handled boost control, so you can reveal up to 100% smooth skin. Venus.
Hello. Hi. How's it going? All right, how you doing? Welcome. So, this is the all-new Chevy Traverse. What do you think?
This looks better than 99% of the SUVs out there.
It's very modern, sleek.
Maybe the most impressive part of the all-new Traverse is what's on the inside.
What are you doing here?
Oh, I missed you guys. I haven't seen you guys in so long.
What's happening?
We flew her out. It's a family car. We had to put your family in it.
Yeah, it gets 7 thumbs up. Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and servpro.com.
Your friend orders a Friday sirloin steak and big ribs. You want to up him with the steak, but add a steak. Figuring steak and steak trumps ribs and steak. But does it?
2 meats, 2 sides, $14.99. Get it here or get it to go.
COPD makes it hard to breathe. So to breathe better, I go with a Noro.
COPD tries to say go this way. I say I'll go my own way with a Noro.
Once daily Anoro contains 2 medicines called bronchodilators that work together to significantly improve lung function all day and all night. Anoro is not for asthma. It contains a type of medicine that increases risk of death in people with asthma. The risk is unknown in COPD. Anoro won't replace rescue inhalers for sudden symptoms and should not be used more than once a day. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition, high blood pressure, glaucoma, prostate, bladder, or urinary problems. These may worsen with Anoro. Call your doctor if you have worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain while taking Anoro.
Ask your doctor about a Noro.
Get your first prescription free at Anoro.com.
Hey, man, could I get a pound of the flank, a pound of the ground sirloin, and a ribeye?
Hey, I thought you were vegan.
Yeah, I'm paleo now. Oh, I'm flexible. And give me just some of that. Surprise me.
He is a provider and a punisher, a sinner and a healer. He serves everyone, but answers to only one.
Now playing exclusively on DirecTV Cinema.
Sydney Hall, one of the best writers of our time. No one has claimed to see or hear from him in over 5 years.
Everywhere I go, he's with me. But he knows everything about me.
A high-profile judge's son kills himself, and you might have been one of the last people to see him alive.
I'm seeing things that aren't there.
You give me the information about Sydney Hall, you will never see me again.
The Vanishing of Sydney Hall, now playing exclusively on DirecTV Cinema.
DirecTV customers expect a great deal. So why stay with these guys when we can get an incredible offer by switching to AT&T? Let's start with a ton of credits. Wow, that's a lot. Overage charges? Forget it. And how about something exclusive just for us? Like $15 a month off our DirecTV bill for life. I said we expect a great deal. Expectations met. DirecTV customers, switch or upgrade to AT&T Unlimited Plus and get this exclusive deal.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
The Russia story is a total fabrication.
This Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.
The entire thing has been a witch hunt.
13 Russians indicted by special counsel Robert Mueller for meddling in the 2016 presidential election.
The Russians also recruited and paid real Americans. Goal here was simple: damage Hillary Clinton and elect Donald Trump.
We truly regret any additional pain that this has caused. The FBI has determined that protocol was not followed.
In this situation, the system clearly failed us.
What a job you've done, and the doctors did a great job over the...
I sent her to school yesterday. She was supposed to be safe.
I don't really care what people who defend the Second Amendment have to say. Their arguments are invalid unless they've experienced this.
Good Saturday morning to you. I'm Victor Blackwell.
And I'm Renee Marsh, in for Christy Paul. President Trump spent more than a year calling it a hoax, a witch hunt, and a total scam. But now special counsel Robert Mueller has indicted 13 Russians for interfering in the 2016 election.
In the documents, the Department of Justice claims that Russians efforted involving unwitting Americans, including Trump campaign associates. But the president says that these charges have vindicated him in the Russia investigation. Now, our other top story, the stunning admission from the FBI. The Bureau says it failed to act on a tip about the Florida school shooter, and now some are asking, could that tip have prevented the massacre that killed 17 students and teachers? We'll have more on the latest developments from Florida in a moment.
But we start with new charges, allegations, and denials in the Russian investigation. CNN's Matthew Chance is live in Moscow. But first, CNN White House correspondent Abby Phillips. Abby, you're here with us live. Talk to us a little bit about the indictments and what is the White House's reaction to the indictments.
Good morning. Well, 13 indictments against Russian nationals makes it all but equivocal that Russia interfered with the 2016 election, and they did so with the purpose of sowing discord in the election. They also made it a goal to boost Donald Trump and hurt Hillary Clinton, a claim that the president has viewed as a threat to the legitimacy of his election. Now, President Trump has talked about this investigation as a hoax, as a witch hunt, as a phony excuse by Democrats for their loss of the election. He's called it terrible and a total scam. But the indictments make it clear that this was all too real. And President Trump, in the wake of these indictments, responded yesterday on social media. Here's what he said. He said, Russia started their anti-U.S. campaign in 2014, long before I announced I would run for president. The results of the election were not impacted. The Trump campaign did nothing wrong. No collusion. Now, that is partly true. The Russians did, in fact, start this effort in 2014, but the indictments also make it clear that there was an effort underway to work actively in the 2016 election to expose some of the rifts that were already there. And Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, when he announced this yesterday, also made it clear that while there was no evidence in these indictments that there was any effect on the election outcome, it doesn't impact anything that could be coming later on from the special counsel Robert Mueller, who is clearly still working on this investigation, still pushing forward. It's also notable that President Trump in the past months has talked about working with Russia to prevent Russian interference